Getting started with your work usually takes place looking at a project board and navigating to GitHub issues. Copilot Workspace brings your favorite AI assistant into a native dev environment designed for everyday tasks. For example, it can use the information in your GitHub issue along with references from your repository to build out a specification based on the current state and proposed state. And you can tailor the spec as you need, whether that's adding, editing, or removing items. Once ready, you can progress from spec to plan, and the process feels familiar. With the ability to adjust the plan as you need by creating, modifying, or removing files and adjusting the expected tasks for each step. This leaves you in control, free to solve the higher level problems and build out your plan before getting into the finer details of writing code. Copilot Workspace then streams the suggested changes to our environment. Notice that we have a diff view to easily digest the changes and can easily make updates within the editor. But that's not all. At our fingertips, we have access to an integrated terminal, so we can run the tests in our workspace before committing our changes and creating a pull request. And what if you want to make use of advanced features like step-through debugging? No problem. Create a code space and pick up where you left off. When you raise your pull request with Copilot Workspace, it generates a description for you and automatically adds a link to your workspace, adding a little bit more context for the reviewer and supporting their code review workflow. And as it's a pull request, our usual checks trigger, including GitHub action workflows and code scanning. Copilot Workspace leaves you in control, solving the higher level problems and iterating quickly over the solution.
Hey, hey, hey. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Open Source Friday, the show where we talk to maintainers about the projects that they are maintaining. I'm Kedasha, and thank you so much for being here today. We have an amazing guest on the show today. But before I get into that, I did want to mention that today is the last day you can submit a session for GitHub Universe coming up in October. Call for sessions closed today. So if you have a session in mind or a talk in mind for that falls under, I believe it's AI, developer experience, and security, be sure to get your session submitted today because today is the deadline. So to get into the show, we have Chayn, an open source project that is actually an award-winning global nonprofit that's run by survivors and allies across the world. And Chayn helps survivors to get information and support that they need during the time that they need it. And today we have Kylee on to tell us all about the project and to get us into it. Hi, Kylee.
Hello, hello. Thank you for the amazing intro, by the way. All of it from like the video, the promotional video for Code Spaces. I was learning so much from that. I'm actually looking to use Code Spaces too for an upcoming volunteer program. And thank you for the wonderful introduction. You described Chayn perfectly, and that's exactly what we are. So I'm a technical community manager. My name is Kylee, and I was actually partnered with Chayn through the GitHub's open source digital public goods community manager program. That program's quite a mouthful, but essentially what that is a program geared towards open source community management, specifically for nonprofits. So if you don't know what a digital public good is, it's basically a tech social impact nonprofit. And yeah, I'm just happy to be here and talk about Chayn and using open source for making a social impact.
Nice, nice. I love it. So like in a previous life, I worked as a social worker, and so like when I saw Chayn, I was like, "Ooh, this is actually something very close to my heart," because I also worked with a lot of survivors when they were in their time of need. So like this project sounds super cool. I'm super interested in it, and I can't wait to start talking about it. But before we start talking about Chayn, let's talk about Kylee for a little bit. So like, who is Kylee? What do you do? How did you get to Chayn? All that jazz.
Sure, sure. So I started working with Chayn I started the program in June, started working with Chayn in September officially. and I've been there ever since. And prior to that, I was a technical community manager actually in the blockchain tech space. So definitely two different worlds. But prior to ever even working in tech, I was a personal trainer and pursuing
Oh,
like a
nice.
degree in psychology. And I've always loved helping people and also loved like logical challenges and problem solving. So that's what attracted me to the tech industry. And I found that technical community management was just that perfect mesh of helping people while also solving these logical technical problems. So I'm happy to be here. It's a perfect mesh of all my interests. They all align here. And working with a social impact project has me helping just the most people I feel like I possibly can in a tech setting. And yeah, it's a dream come true. I'm really grateful for the program by GitHub for helping me pivot into this space.
Yeah. So like tell me more about that. Like so like what was your partnership with the GitHub social impact team like? How did Chen get involved in that and what was the relationship like there?
Sure. So I'm not exactly sure how they got involved. Thinking back, I think it was through the United Nations because I know
Mhm.
GitHub had a partnership with them to create this program. I think that's where this program actually comes from, is some sort of partnership with the United Nations. And Chayn also has their own connections and networks with the United Nations as well. So I believe that's how GitHub and Chayn were connected. And I actually found a Twitter post by a previous developer advocate at GitHub, and I advertising this program. So I applied there sort of on a whim, and I was accepted into it. And it consisted of
Nice.
a month or two of training. It was actually training every single day with a community manager at GitHub on how to be a technical community manager, but also how to utilize GitHub to its full capacity and to optimize it for scalable, sustainable technical community engagement through GitHub. And so I went through that, and then I partnered with Chayn, and our first project was Hacktoberfest. And since
Okay.
Hacktoberfest, we've been upgrading our technology piece by piece. And we're also a hybrid of paid staff and volunteers. And of course, as a social impact nonprofit, a lot of our productivity also stems from the available resources at the time. They ebb and flow. So throughout the time, we've just been getting, all of our ducks in a row to start a new open source contributor campaign, which is what we're doing right now.
Nice, nice. I remember when I first learned about the GitHub Social Impact group or community or ask sector of GitHub, I was like, wow, that's pretty cool that they're working with like non-government organizations, nonprofits, developers who are interested in driving social change. Like I believe they focus on like four aspects, and you can learn more about GitHub Social Impact by visiting that site. I popped up earlier, right here, socialimpact.github.com to see if you can be a part of the program if you're interested in that, or like your nonprofit could be a part of the program to get some bennies and good stuff from that program. So like tell us more about Chen, right? Like what is the story of Chen? How did this organization or product come about?
Yeah. So Chayn is a global hybrid with paid staff and volunteer run organization. We are a nonprofit. We aim to be multilingual, and we're trauma informed, and we develop platforms, resources, directories, and also we have a helpful network as well where anybody can actually message us for help, whether they need like a laptop, for example, to use our products. Like we can help them with that and connect them with organizations that can help them. And our main products right now are Bloom and
Mhm.
Soul Medicine. And we've also had other products that have come and go or have served as stepping stones to Bloom now. And Bloom is an app, it's a web-based app that provides therapeutic resources, such as courses you can take. You can get helpful and encouraging, empowering messages sent to your phone or like WhatsApp, for example. And there's chat available there as well. And yeah, it's just a platform that's an all-in-one support service that's self-led, And it's separate from just going, on YouTube and social media. Perhaps this is best for those who would find that overwhelming, going on these, social media channels to find that sort of help, because there's so much you need to sift through. And some of that can be even like triggering content. So by having
Yeah.
a web-based app that is trauma informed, we offer a platform that really does the work with finding those resources that can help people, so that they don't have to go through the internet and sift through all the junk on the internet. And yeah, all of our work is centers around trauma informed design.
Nice. You've mentioned trauma informed a few times. What does that mean?
Sure, that's a great question. So it can be defined differently depending on what organization you ask. I
Mm-hmm.
would say our return on investment is defined by how many people we impact, but also like the quality of that impact as well, that the meaningfulness of that impact. That's what our return on investment is. That's the center of all of our work. And I think like a really good example of describing trauma informed design is giving an example of something that is not trauma informed design. So I think a good example of this is recently on Facebook, I was using Facebook Marketplace, and somebody I had messaged had just about like a chair I was trying to buy, sent me a ridiculous like no message, like abusive message. So I
Oh,
blocked them.
wow.
I blocked them immediately, right? Of course, that's what you do. And the internet's full of these types of characters. You block them. And after I blocked them, I was not able to report them. And then when I went
Mm.
to unblock them to report them, I wasn't able to block them again for 3 days. And
Oh my
it's sort
goodness.
of like these things, like clearly trauma is not the center of Facebook's return on investment, or healing trauma, and something like that is a side effect of that. Whereas in trauma informed applications, we're constantly looking for those types of things to prevent them, and that's our main focus.
Gotcha, gotcha. So trauma informed essentially means like ensuring that we're thinking about how will this impact someone if they're dealing with trauma in terms of like the design of the application or like the app that you're using. And it's just like what effect will this have on this person? Will it re-traumatize them, or will it help them to stay calm and like actually find help?
Correct.
Is
Yes.
that what I'm hearing?
Yep.
Awesome. Awesome. So like tell us more about Chayn. So like I know you have a demo. So like we can kind of like walk through, I guess, the repository to talk more about it. Tell us more about this project.
Sure. So here is our GitHub, and we are an open source organization. We're really proud to be open source. It aligns with our values of being transparent, and especially about where our users' data goes and whatnot. So we're very transparent about that. You'll find everything here. And here, as we scroll down, these are our main projects we have going right now. Of course, we also have resources and directories, which I'll get to later, but these are the main platforms that we have. So Bloom, it's split into 2 repositories right here, the front end and the back end. And Bloom is the app I mentioned, provides
Mm-hmm.
courses and resources. And actually, Shen has been around since 2013. It was started by Hera Hussein. This came about, I believe, during the pandemic. So this was a lockdown project that all
Oh
of the team
wow.
made, and it's flourished since then into one of their flagship products. So yes, we are open source. We have so many issues available. We just had a contributor, an open source contributor, make a pull request that was merged. Um, yeah, so you can see Bloom is a remote trauma support service. We're a global charity. You can get involved through donating, even starring our repositories would be wonderful, to help us get more recognition here on GitHub so we can find more open source contributors. And these are the technologies that we use. Very well-known open source technologies. We really look for using stacks that are well documented, that can
Mm-hmm.
be maintainable, and are, of course, open source. But I'll go ahead and show you the product itself.
Mm-hmm. And this is Bloom.
Yes, and this is Bloom without being logged in. I have another window of being logged in here, but this is without being logged in. You can see we have courses, chat, activities, some grounding exercises as well, and a notes app.
Oh,
Yeah, so we have one-to-one messages. It's great. It's sort of like, again, like I mentioned, you can find a lot of these things online on like YouTube, for example, but this is a standalone web app. So
yeah.
it's all about having that safe space.
And
And
all
it's
these
great.
services are free
Yes,
for
it is
survivors?
free. Yes, all free, and
Wow.
we're multilingual as well. We really try to stay away from being too English centric. And while this is geared towards marginalized communities and underrepresented genders, we are working on being more inclusive, and really anybody can use this app, like no matter
Yeah.
what gender and whatnot that you are.
Cool.
But yeah, we can see we are multilingual. We cover really, we're just aiming on like covering more and more languages every quarter. And yeah, there are some triggering topics that we do cover here. And one of another wonderful thing about working at a trauma informed company is that not only are we providing these resources for users, but also for staff as well. We get like therapy included. We have grounding exercises in our meetings. The company through and through, inside and out, is trauma informed.
So tell me something, like how is Chen able to provide all these free services? I see like online courses, one-to-one messages, reflective activities, notes app, grounding activities. How is Chen funded, and essentially, I guess my question is like, why open source, and like how does Chen keep the lights on?
Sure, sure. That's a really great question. Well, we have received funding. I can't answer off the top of my head who exactly has funded us to be, but I do know that we've received funding, and for Bloom especially, I know there was some funding that we received after its
Mhm.
development and post the lockdown era. But actually, it was volunteer run. Even the CEO was a non-paid volunteer for 6 years after it was launched. All of Chayn was launched in 2013. So the funding only really started around 2019, and that's when finally, after 6 years, the CEO was able to be a paid staff member.
Yeah.
So yeah, we keep the lights on through volunteers essentially, but we're really grateful that we've had some funding also through GitHub, for example, has been very generous as well. And um, and yeah, and just consulting different experts who are willing to give their time. Also, volunteers have developed enough expertise as well to really make an impact on these projects as well. Like sometimes we just have some volunteers who make, maybe they'll write like a test, but also we
Mhm.
have some that might speak for us on like a radio show, and that's like some outreach that we can get, or they were a core component in developing our free services here. So it's a combination of funding and being volunteer run.
Nice. That's very amazing. That's awesome, and I'm happy that something like this can be free, because it's so difficult for survivors to get access to help whenever they're in like a really dire situation, because sometimes there's like nobody to ask for help. And so like to have these resources readily available for them to take advantage of. And like I see this leave this app site. I remember we always had that button on our when I worked in DV, there was always a leave this page button that went to like a random page on the internet. And I love that that button exists, because it does show that, yeah, we are trauma informed, and we want to make sure that people are safe whenever they're using our resources. This is amazing.
Yeah, yeah, I also feel the same way when I see this button too. It does show that you are a trauma informed platform.
Yes.
And I believe it takes you to like a Wikipedia page on like kitties or something like
Yeah.
that, or
Something
cats.
very random.
But yeah, yeah. So we have, the online courses, the one-to-one messaging, reflective activities, guided grounding activities, and also notes, WhatsApp messages sent to users as well.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned before, too, you can also get in touch with us, and we can try to connect you with an organization that can help you in your specific situation. And this
Yeah.
is just Bloom. So we have other projects as well. Here, let
So
me
that's
just,
just Bloom.
yeah,
Okay.
that's just Bloom. um, so here is our website for organizations. Oop, that's the wrong button. Not developing today. No developer tools. But yeah, we also organize directories and guides, for example. So here's some of our research. We have the trauma informed design white paper. safer chatbots. So before AI had this big boom
Mm.
recently, we were already playing around with smarter chatbots and did some research on using those in trauma-informed applications. While we see a lot of potential for AI, and especially advancing, like, for example, we have a project here. I don't know if it's here, it might be under here. We have a project that will connect you how to build a domestic abuse case. So this is
Mhm.
one of our highly used products or projects. And AI would be great in something like this as far as like assessing laws like globally
That's
and
true.
connecting people with resources. But with the chatbot, we actually concluded, and if you go to our website and you'll find our research on why like the AI assisted chatbot like didn't actually work for our use case. Maybe
Mm.
as AI improves in the future, but it's just sort of like, we were testing the waters of AI like before this big boom, essentially. So yeah, we have research, we have projects here. So I said we had Bloom. Your Story Matters was like the first step for Bloom. Bloom builds off of Your Story Matters. It's pretty much the same thing, but just a smaller, more compact version. Soul Medicine again is contains a lot of the same information as Bloom. This is actually
Yeah.
written in Ruby. And this is actually our most highly used project, but it is written in Ruby, and we do not have any Ruby developers on the team right now. So we are really looking for some Ruby open source contributors, but still the project stands, and it focuses on bite-sized support messaging.
Oh. How can
So,
we find the list of projects from your site?
sure. So if you go to our GitHub,
Uh-huh.
in our README at the top description, top of our GitHub profile, you'll see a link to learn more about us. This is
Uh-huh.
our link for organizations, and we are currently like updating
Oh.
this website. We want to feature our work with GitHub, for example, on here. So it does need some updating. Um, but yeah, here you'll find our
Oh, I
projects,
see.
our research, our partnerships, and soon our involvement with GitHub.
Yes, post that link right here. That's cool. That's cool. So like what inspired the creation of Chen? Like how did it come to be back in 2013?
Yeah, great question. So the CEO Hera was already working in the open source space and was a active volunteer for contributing to Wikipedia.
Mhm.
Um, and what she had noticed is that while there was a lot of digital public goods that centered around humanitarian aid and those things, but they were not very centered around underrepresented genders and like this feminist. Um, they were not feminist, perhaps. Maybe they were, but that wasn't their their locus point of focus.
Mhm.
And Hera saw that there was a need for that. So, for example, Hera, here I can go on the website and actually just show you too. Da-da-da. Where was like our website? Here we go. So this is our website, our main website, that is for users. And here we can go to the About Me, and you can learn more about Chayn here. I can actually just post this link in the
Yeah.
chat here. Oh, join the chat. I haven't joined the chat yet. Maybe you can post this link.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. So Hera found, well, she was born in the UK, but grew up in Pakistan, and she helped two friends from the UK and Pakistan escape abusive marriages and experience significant challenges in finding the basic information they needed. And she saw that there was a lot of outdated information online for how to help them. So that's how Chayn was born, was the need to just compile resources that were updated, that were modern, and would give survivors the support and help they needed to get out and also heal from their situations and their circumstances. And that was in 2013.
Cool. That's really it's really good that like she saw a problem and she's like, I can fix this. And then she actually, implemented the solution to a problem. And now like it's growing really well and it's an amazing project. I saw a comment here that says from Alma, she said like this is amazing and it's something that we need to have more open conversations about. And thank you for bringing awareness. For sure. Like thank you for bringing awareness and for using like technical skills to solve like a real problem, like a real social issue that we face in our society. And so like for someone that's interested in contributing to Chen, what do you think is the best way for them to get started doing that? And like what's like something that Chen really needs help with right now?
Sure, sure. Great question. And thank you for commenting that. I see there's a few comments here from Devlin Crow. Thank you for saying that. And I really hope AI tools are going to be able to adjust themselves according to different countries' law. I definitely agree with that. I'm just reading the comments here. I tried to connect to the chat, but there was an error, by the way, so I wasn't able to post in there. But
That's
how
okay.
contributors can help is go to our GitHub. You'll find all the information there to be an open source contributor. We have open issues. So these are direct requests that we're putting out for contributors. But also feel free to create your own issue if you have an idea. Now, if you're interested, I'll actually go to our Getting Involved guide here.
Mhm.
If you're interested in just volunteering with Chayn, doesn't need to be on the tech side. We also have those who are volunteering with like marketing, governance,
Mm.
and strategy. So outside of tech as well. So we have a volunteering cohort for both tech volunteers and general volunteers. The volunteer program is not always active. We are always taking applications, but it really depends on like the resources available to us at our time. But if you're interested in getting involved, I definitely recommend going to our Getting Involved page on our website and signing up to be a volunteer, whether in our general volunteer program or our tech volunteer program. But the easiest way to get involved on your own time through just being self-led is on our GitHub as an open source contributor.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you for that information. All right. So like anything else we need to know about Chen? I see that we have so many different products or like projects that it does. It's led by volunteers. How does Chen manage the volunteers and keep them motivated to work on the project?
Sure. So it's definitely a challenge. I think any nonprofit faces that challenge, especially also when you add volunteers into the mix as well. I think we're at a point now where we see the value in open source contributions and filling that gap for volunteers because with being open source, we're able to have more of like a system where
Mm-hmm.
volunteers are able to be self-led versus a program. While we do have the program that provides additional resources, that still the tech program at least still builds off of being an open source contributor anyway. So whether or not like you join the tech program or not, you still are going to be an open source contributor. And yeah.
Nice. Well, thank you. Anything else you want to tell us about Chen? I think that about covers it, right? We learned about Chen, their
Yeah, yeah.
involvement with GitHub, how you can volunteer, both tech and non-tech on the tech and non-tech side, and yeah, it's doing really good things.
Yeah, so I will just say that we welcome developers of all skill levels and expertise and backgrounds to contribute to our projects. We want to leave contributors feeling confident making open source contributions, even if it's their first time. That's what we aim for.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're feeling, scared, I totally understand. Like when you contribute to open source for the first time, sometimes developers who are at the senior level, they've been developing for 10 years, are still scared to code in public. And we totally get that. We get that. It's daunting at first to have your code out there if you're used to the comfort of just coding privately on your own computer. And we aim, however, to give contributors the confidence to make their open source contributions at any skill level. So just know that
Nice.
that's what we stand for.
Yeah. And thank you so much for being on today. This is an amazing project. I didn't realize that Chayn had so many different products. I think because Bloom front end and back end and Soul Medicine were pinned, I was like, oh, those must be like the most important aspects of Chayn. But I didn't realize that Chayn was like an org, and then you had like mini orgs underneath it that does a whole bunch of different things. That's really cool, and it opens up doors for people to come in and contribute and their skills to a great digital public good. And Kylie mentioned that she's looking for Ruby developers. So if you're a Ruby developer, be sure to tap into Chayn. Can you share the repository name?
Yes.
Yes.
Please.
So Chayn is an org, and there are multiple projects within Chayn. I have a link here right here. So if you go to github.com/ChaynHQ, you can dig into some of the repositories that they have and see where you can jump into help with some of the products. Someone says, thank you for all of this information. It spurs me to volunteer too. That's awesome. That's amazing. I'm sure they would be so happy to have more volunteers working on their products. Thanks so much for being here, Kylie. I'm not seeing
Thank
any
you.
more questions
Yeah, thank you
from
so much for
our
having me.
audience. Yeah, this has been really great. And I may try to carve out some time myself to volunteer with Chayn. Like this type of work is very near and dear to my heart. And I would love to use my tech skills to like do some good in the world and like help people even more. But yeah, thanks so much for being here. Thank you for watching again. And until next time, bye.
See ya. Thank you.